Christmas Eve and I had no weed. Nothing around me but a tiny seed. This tiny seed isn't what I need. I said, what am I gonna do now? It's not magic bud or fantastic nug, just a seed in a pouch I never opened once. And I got no gifts cause of the Christmas rush. I said, what am I gonna give now? So I asked around, but there was nothing found, and my guy was out of town. So I took the seed, I planted in the ground, and in the morning when I came down, Santa brought me weed for Christmas. Santa brought me weed. He took the tiniest little seed and turned it to a big green leafy tree. Santa brought me weed for Christmas. Santa brought me weed. He took the tiniest little seed and turned it to a big green leafy tree. When I saw the tree, I fell on my knees. I said, Santa, you gotta be kidding me. There was so much green, I thought it was a dream. I said, what am I gonna do now? So I took the leaves and I took the buds to share with everyone. So each Christmas Day, I make sure to say how all this just begun. Santa brought me weed for Christmas. Santa brought me weed. He took the tiniest little seed and turned it to a big green leafy tree. Santa brought me weed for Christmas. Santa brought me weed. He took the tiniest little seed and turned it to a big green leafy tree. Into a
And welcome along, guys, to another installment of 420 News. And I'm your news host, Martin Condon. And if you can't see it, guys, I'm ho-ho-hoing it here with the Christmas jumper. Jeez, I should really push my camera back so you can kind of, you know, get into the festive vibes as much as one can anyway. In this kind of ignorant world we live in, where we still criminalise people for cannabis. So Merry Christmas to everybody out there, guys, and welcome along to another installment of 420 News. This is brought to you by Martin's World. And guys, you know, as always, if you'd like to support the show, if you'd like to support the fight for legalisation of cannabis in Ireland, you can support the show and the fight for cannabis legalisation in Ireland by signing up to the patreon.com/Martin's World. And you can also make the donations in the form of Bitcoin there up in the martinsworld.ie website. And there's a little button, you just give it a little click, follow the link, and you can make a donation there also. Guys, thanks to everybody so far who has signed up to that Patreon and who has made a donation in the form of Bitcoin. All of those funds are sitting securely there where they've been donated to. And until such time as we go about starting this cannabis hub, or until some time as there's going to be protests and efforts there where that money can be utilised to help fight for the legalisation in Ireland, it will remain untouched there until that time. So guys, again, thanks everybody for supporting the show and supporting the fight for cannabis legalisation in Ireland. This isn't just about cannabis access. This is much, much greater. It's about freedom. There's so much more to this than just like a nugget of weed and smoking some cannabis, you know, as I kind of do on the show from time to time. I only do it on the show as an act of civil disobedience, to kind of just to say F you to the government and to the policymakers who think that they can intimidate me with their policies where they threaten to lock me up, to conform to their ways of being. You know, Joe Rogan said it well there on one of his podcasts, where he was kind of making the situation that if it was just two people on an island and I didn't like that what you did and I made it illegal and I was going to lock you up for that, that would be so messed up, wouldn't it, really? And that's essentially what we do with our cannabis laws. We lock people up because there's certain people in our society who think we shouldn't have access to it, who disagree with our use of it. And, you know, when it's on that small scale, one-to-one basis, you can kind of see the absurdity of it. But things get lost then when it's a couple of million people, you know. When I'm just one person going to court being criminalised for this and I'm saying, hey, this is wrong, this is unjust, and it's just not, it's absurd, it makes no sense to me, there's no justification for it. Then you have the other people on the other side, you have the patients, you know, you have the campaigners for the patients out there, and they're arguing for a different perspective, but it's all the one same law that's kept access to all of these people, whether it be me through my own want and a desire to consume cannabis, or whether it be the patients who need it for very valid medicinal reasons. It's ridiculous. So this is just much greater fight than just wanting access to cannabis for the individual. It's about freedom and the integrity of our society, because currently as prohibition remains in place, our Gardaí are ineffective in what they're doing. Our court services, they're overburdened, you know. There's so much inefficiency in it. There's so much wasted energy and money going into the fighting what is a failed war on drugs and a failed prohibition. And I hope 2021, I have a lot of optimism going into it, that we will see a lot of change. And, you know, let's carry that through, you know. Let's really hope that that happens. Gino Kenny's going to be putting a bill before the Irish government to legalise cannabis for adults 18 and over, I'd imagine, or I'm not too sure actually what the age is going to be in that. But this is a very positive thing. The conversation is going to be had, and it's a conversation that's needed to be had, and it's a serious one which our policymakers can't be children about and just, you know, oh, drugs, oh, and kind of not want to actually acknowledge it in any real serious, meaningful way. All along it's like, drugs are bad, don't do drugs, and drugs should remain illegal, and that's that. And we take into no consideration the people who might use those drugs and substances and things like that. You know, there's many reasons, and you shouldn't judge people. For me, I talk about it that when I first used cannabis, I didn't decide I was going to like it. It was through peer pressure I first chose to use cannabis, and when I consumed it, I enjoyed it. I didn't choose to enjoy it, but now looking back at it, why I enjoyed it is because it gave me a much better quality of life, and it gave me more freedom to be the person who I am before you today. So, I have a lot to thank for cannabis. Like, despite some of the hardships that have been put on me because of my choice to use cannabis, and it wasn't cannabis that done that to me. It was the policymakers, the laws. You know, cannabis has never brought me down in life, except when the police and the authorities are intervening in my life and trying to help me, help me by criminalising me. Dude, these guys are mad, like, crazy stuff. So guys, let's get into the 420 news. I have one story to share with you, and then I would like to focus on something going forward into the new year that we should all just to think about anyway, for everybody out there, because I believe it's something that everybody should be thinking about anyway, especially the patients and the campaigners out there. So the very first story I have for you today is that of Sienna Richardson. So Sienna Richardson, who you see here, if you're watching this, she's a 7-year-old girl with a very rare form of epilepsy, and she's made an amazing recovery after beginning a medicinal cannabis oil treatment, and that's according to her mum, who basically, she says cannabis is a miracle, and you know, a miracle, that's a very, very strong word to be using, and when you see the effects that epilepsy and the specific type of epilepsy here, which is known as Landau-Kleffner syndrome, Landau. So if you want to look it up, Landau-Kleffner syndrome. It is a very rare epilepsy syndrome of childhood. Its main features are loss of speech and language skills, with seizures and learning behaviours problems. The epilepsy is often easy to control with epilepsy medicines, and the seizures usually stop in adolescence or early adult life. The speech and language skills are more of a problem and do not always improve over time. LKS, for short, usually starts between the age of 3 and 8 and affects twice as many boys as it does girls. The underlying cause of LKS is still not known, and there has abnormality, a mutation in the gene GRIN2A. That was just a little brief, just what that syndrome is, that type of epilepsy. It's interesting that it impairs the ability to learn, or it takes away stuff that the kids have even learned. So the kids would mind being able to talk or to walk, and all of a sudden they lose these abilities because of this syndrome. And for it says here like that it's often easily control with medications, but sadly that wasn't the case here for Sienna Richardson, where the medications weren't doing very good. So because of that, then the family secured a prescription from a private practice for Sienna, which the mother has said has been a miracle, and they are now campaigning with other families to ensure that the treatment is more widely available on the NHS. And these are the many other families, guys, out there. So these are the parents, and the empathy inside me is kicking in now. I can feel the tears coming to the surface just thinking of that. Like, look at all these parents out there fighting for their kids, and all these parents want is proper, effective access for cannabis. Like, absolutely disgraceful that the policymakers would keep this from them. Especially with knowing what we know, with so many people coming forward now and testifying to the benefits cannabis has brought to them and their family and their kids. It's ridiculous that these parents still have to campaign. Still today in the NHS in England, in the UK, there's only one child who's been approved medicinal cannabis there, where the NHS are actually funding it. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe there is only one child currently getting that, and that is Billy Caldwell, a 15-year-old young boy from above in Northern Ireland. So his mum, Callie, no, that's a different mother. His mum, what's his mother's name? Jeez, her name is eluding me now. But basically, she campaigned a long time to get access for this, and only just earlier this year that was approved. So there's many other kids out there who still need access to this. These are the patients. Like I show you the parents here, but here's the patients now. These are the children that these parents are out there campaigning for. And that list isn't an exhaustive list either. That's just the couple that are that this is up on endourpain.co.uk, I believe is the website. End Our Pain, anyway. If you Google that, you'll be able to find that and read more about their stories, and you'll find other videos and links up there. It really breaks my heart kind of going through the website, reading their stories, and seeing all the prolonged pain and suffering that's been caused because of the ignorance that's out there, this desire to keep prohibition in place of cannabis. We're going to allow the suffering. It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, cannabis prohibition saw the removal of cannabis from the herbal pharmacopoeias of America and Britain. That was back in 1942, I believe that happened. Like, and then today they tell us there's no evidence or research there to support it. But you look at why there's not. They removed cannabis from the herbal pharmacopoeias. The herbal pharmacopoeias are the main body of, are the main source of information there for herbalists and herbal practitioners and researchers, more importantly, and they removed it from there in this kind of war on drugs that took place, or this war on cannabis that took place back in the early 1900s. And here today, like as you see here, there's 8 patients up, or 8 very young people up here that are affected by this cannabis prohibition and the lack of research that's been done because of this cannabis prohibition. So really, we need to be out in force. Enjoy our Christmas, enjoy the New Year's, guys, as much as you can. I know there's a lot of pain and worry there for these parents now currently, because these are all youth UK-based campaigners, and if you're not based in UK and Ireland, if you're not aware that Brexit, the UK have voted to leave Europe. So come the 31st of December, these patients are apparently no longer able to receive their cannabis medicines, like adding to the worry of all of that. Like, and it's absolutely ridiculous given that the UK apparently is the biggest exporter of cannabis in the world, apparently. But yet these patients all have to go to another country to get it. And soon, because of Brexit, that they mightn't have that access there because of just bureaucracy and red tape and all of that kind of BS that exists. So just to finish the story there on young Sienna, and I just pop her back up on screen so you can all just see who I'm talking about. And I look like a beautiful young child, who sadly wouldn't be able to partake in life as she currently is if it wasn't for having access to cannabis medicines. So that I don't blame the mother for using that word miracle. But Sienna was diagnosed after her parents noticed problems with her speech and understanding. Steroid treatments were not successful, and while surgery was an option, it could leave Sienna with paralysis on the left side of her body. So again, just consider this, that they were considering surgery, like on her brain. I would imagine that they were doing the surgery, which could risk paralysis, over the NHS just approving the cannabis-based medicines. Crazy, isn't it, to think that they would do that? But again, I was talking to Ali and Alison Littlefair there last week, and she talked about the fact that they're more than happy to roll out end of life care plans for these kids rather than give them cannabis medicines. Like, what kind of a sick world do we live in? Like, really, that there's so much stigma around cannabis medicines that it's okay to give them an end-of-life care plan instead of cannabis. Like, absolutely monstrous stuff that's going on out there. Like, her family said that they believe the medicinal cannabis oil Bedrolite offered the best hope, and Bedrolite is coming from the company there in Holland, and that's Bedrocan, for the people who don't know out there. And despite a law change to allow the prescription of cannabis-based medications, some families have not been able to secure it on the NHS, and a campaign began to raise £15,000 for Sienna's treatment, and her family have raised over £8,000 to date, and or before the start of the pandemic, and they used that money then to secure a private prescription for Sienna there. So they had to fundraise privately to raise money basically to go and buy a prescription, because the government in the UK, because of the stigma and all of the crap that exists around cannabis, they're able to give her all these anti-epileptic drugs with major side effects, like crazy side effects, over cannabis. Absolutely ridiculous. And then they'll use the age-old excuse, there's not enough research there to support it, despite the fact there is a growing amount of evidence there to support cannabis and cannabis medicines. But no, they'll cling to the age propaganda thing. Like, there was a guy got in touch with me the other day, and it's something I'm aware of too, that like in industry out there, if you want the result, you can go and you can pay a lab to formulate that result for you. That there is no real integrity as such from some of the science that's done today. If you have enough money, you can get the result you want from the right company. Like, some people just have no morals and they'll sell out. And it's absolutely ridiculous then that we hear that then the cannabis isn't allowed to be used. The old brain damage one that they done with the monkeys, it was supposed to be smoke given to the monkeys, 30 seconds of cannabis smoke over 5 times or something like that a day, I believe it was they were supposed to get. But what they actually ended up doing was just giving the monkeys nearly 5 minutes of non-stop cannabis smoke to inhale. So they basically deprived them of oxygen for 5 minutes and then said, oh yeah, look, brain damage. Then cannabis caused it. It wasn't the oxygen deprivation at all. Let's ignore the oxygen deprivation part of the study, and let's just keep on hammering home cannabis causes brain damage, and we know it does. We know today it does not cause brain damage. It's neuroprotective, if anything. Like, antioxidants, so much benefits there to cannabis. Like, but look, they just want to say that it's bad. There's not enough research there, but we know why there's not. Sienna's mother, then Lucy, said that they saw improvements within weeks of starting the cannabis oil. Since taking it, she is able to understand and speak normally. She said that she is living a real normal life, and she is still in a mainstream school playing with friends, and she is doing really, really well. When we saw her getting better and better, it was amazing. The medication costs £1,400 per month, which the family will have to fund themselves in the new year. They are supporting a campaign by End Our Pain, which is who I talked about earlier, and Epilepsy Action also, for access to cannabis-based medicines for children with severe and treatment-resistant epilepsy. It is a massive stress. We worry about how we will find it, but there is no choice. We have to do it. Sienna can live a normal life, Miss Richardson said. If we got her on the NHS, that would be amazing. And there's no reason why they can't give it like that. I'm sure that there's far more medications out there on the NHS that cost far more than cannabis medications do. And like the benefits that the cannabis medications give to these patients, so you see them not needing as many of the other drugs. It's amazing what cannabis has done for not all, but many patients who've gotten access to it. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say cannabis will work for everything. By God, like, everybody should have access to it. If I can go down to the doctor and he can prescribe me opiate-based painkillers, why can he not prescribe me a cannabis-based painkiller? Why not? It's just straight up discrimination, and it's bang out of order. It kills me reporting on these stories, and you know, I kind of wanted to finish off on more positive things, but like, this is what's happening because of cannabis prohibition, and we all need to get out there and call for the end of it, because it's wrong. It's really, really wrong. And I'm more than willing to go to prison for my beliefs that cannabis prohibition needs to end. It really fucking does. Like, these patients, they're sick. These patients, many of their parents, you know, that they're tired. That the life of taking care of a child with a severe illness is one where the parents' time is in high demand from the child because of all the conditions that go with it. And to have these parents then to have to campaign to get access to a medication that gives them benefit, that gives the child a good quality of life. Jeez, where? Like, come on. Like, politicians out there, policymakers, people in charge, whoever has the power, guys, it's Christmas. Look into your hearts, guys. Come on. Prohibition is wrong. Cannabis, like, it's not a deadly, dangerous drug. It is not going to kill anybody. The prohibition of it causes the deaths of many, the enslavement of many, the suffering of fucking many. So end it, guys. Come on. Like, that was my Christmas wish that went out there earlier today to Helen McEntee, our Justice Minister here in Ireland. Do you know, Helen McEntee, you're going to have a child there in the new year. You're a mother expecting. If your child was to be born, and I hope to God you don't find yourself in that situation. But imagine if you were in the situation of any of these other parents out there, and you found yourself in a situation where the cost of the cannabis medicine that you needed for your child was prohibitively high because of the prohibition. And there was very little options for you outside of one company in Holland that you could get the medication for. Would you be happy? Really? Would you be happy? Have a think about that now, like, Helen. You know, would you be happy if that was you? If you were that the one of the mothers of these many children out there in this situation? How can you oversee this? Like, really? End cannabis prohibition, end the suffering of the many people out there, because it is bang out of order. And going forward, guys, what I want to highlight to you next is this. I don't know if any of you are aware of it, but this is the Human Convention on Human Rights. And this is my gift to all of you guys. This is how I want to finish off the year on 420 News, is just a little bit of education and opinion. because a lot of this is opinion based and less education based, I suppose. It's education because it might be the first time some of you are seeing are hearing these human rights and having opinions then expressed off of the reading of those human rights. So I'm going to start off there with who are these human rights for? These are for everybody. These are inalienable. Nobody should be able to take away your human rights except in accordance with the law, which is how our human rights have been how we've been discriminated against basically, and our human rights taken away from us as cannabis consumers, because in accordance with the law. But as I said earlier, that some of the research that was done in the past, it's based on very flawed methods, and the data that comes from it, it's not credible at all. There is no justification for the prohibition of cannabis. There is no justification for criminalizing drug users. So, like, look at Portugal. I was watching a video there earlier from a buddy of mine, Graham the Barra, and he was talking about the fact that, and this was from 2015, bear in mind this fact came from, but he was on about Ireland at the time had an average drug overdose rate per million of 64 people, I believe. Portugal, a place where drugs have been decriminalised, and a place where they had a big problem with drug deaths and drug overdoses and injecting kind of related diseases. They have 3 per million. 64 versus 3. Some difference, like absolutely ridiculous difference there. And that there is no justification for criminalizing drug users. Prohibition of drugs, it creates a criminal enterprises for these mad, violent criminals who will do anything to make the money and fill the demand to get that money. As we've seen here in Ireland over the last 40, 50 years, with the rise of the Kinnans, the Hutches, as I've talked about many, many times on the bloody show. You've your man John Gilligan there, and the gangs of the past as well, It's ridiculous what's the gift that prohibition basically gives to these criminals, and that the harm it does, and basically the violations of mine and your human rights. So Article 1, guys, of the European Convention on Human Rights, it says the high contracting parties shall secure to everyone within their jurisdiction the rights and freedom defined in Section 1 of this convention. So that is the first one, and they're breaching that because they breach the other ones. And here's the second one, which is the right to life. So this is the first breach of the violations, which breaches the first one, which I just mentioned there a few seconds ago. So the right to life. Everyone shall have everyone's right to life shall be protected by law. No one shall be deprived of his life intentionally, save in the execution of a sentence of a court following his conviction of a crime for which the penalty is provided by law. So the rest of that doesn't really matter. This one here is everyone's right to life shall be protected by law, except those patients who need cannabis medicines, because the right to life isn't being protected there by them, because the prohibition of cannabis, as I talked about, it's restricting the research that's then restricting the access to cannabis medicines. So patients out there, guys, this is the first one that's been breached for you, your right to life. Because your right to life is basically to be able to go out and live, as Sienna's parents talked about earlier. She's able to go to school and have a normal life. She has a right to that. And cannabis is giving her that access. And many people out there don't have access to that because of, again, the cost that's prohibitive. Why is the cost prohibitive? Why isn't the NHS providing it? Why isn't the Irish medical card system covering it for everyone who needs it? Because they're discriminating against you, which again that's another one that they breach later on. So there's your first one, your right to life. That's one that's been breached for many, many patients out there. It's not one that I could really argue myself. Maybe I very much could, I suppose, argue if I wanted to. As I said, cannabis enabled me to engage with my own thoughts, which I believe I couldn't do effectively before. which gave me a better quality of life, I believe. I can make a very good argument that cannabis has given me a very, very better, a much better quality of life. So why is that not protected here by this? So this is the first one I believe that they're breaching. Then the next one that they're breaching brings us to the Article 5, and that's the right to liberty and security. It says everyone has the right to liberty and security of person. No one shall be deprived of this liberty, save in following cases and in accordance with procedure prescribed by law. And again, remember I was saying at the very start of this, guys, that the only time they can take away your rights is in accordance with the law. And the Misuse of Drugs Act of 1977 is violating our human rights, and there's no justification for it. It was put in place by a bunch of corrupt gumbeans all those years ago, back in 1977, when they didn't believe in condoms, guys. Don't remember that. They didn't believe in condoms. Come on. And they put this back in then. So they're taking away our right to liberty. And I just looked it up just earlier, and what is liberty? What is the definition of liberty? The definition of liberty is, according to a dictionary on Google anyway, is the state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behaviour, or political views. My behaviour, my cannabis consumption, like, it's not infringing on anybody else. My consumption of cannabis does not inflict upon anybody else's way of life. It is not a danger to society. That the fabric of our society is not going to crumble because I consumed cannabis. So that's why I argue that the Misuse of Drugs Act of 1977, it violates our human rights. And it also violates the patient's human rights as well, because their right to liberty is being taken away because they're being deprived of their quality of life and their security too, the security of their health. That's of utmost important. The security of your health, access to medicines, that is incredibly important. Nobody should be able to deprive you of access to your medication. It's just so wrong. So that's another one. That's a very important one. That's Article 5 of the European Convention of Human Rights. Article 6, we go on. And this is a right to a fair trial. And it's a very wordy one, but I've underlined the part that I'm interested in here, which is everyone is entitled to a fair and public hearing within a reasonable time by an independent and impartial tribunal established by law. I would argue currently our laws, our judges are not impartial. Say Judge Sean O'Donovan, for example. You look at how he is sentencing people. He is not impartial. This man has a very much a bias, a dislike of drug users and drug dealers, and he deals with that. He isn't impartial at all, and he's not fit. None of these judges are fit to carry out the task being set to them. It should be done by a jury. It really should be done by a jury, and sadly, I've never been given access to a jury to argue, that I shouldn't be punished for this, that it's in the public interest not to punish me. I can't argue that with a judge because he's not impartial. He's only there to see the law be upheld, But if a jury, made up of the public, I believe they should have the right to be able to kind of, in the US anyway, it's called jury nullification. I don't know if that exists here in Ireland. I'm not a bloody legal expert, sadly, and I say that, like, I've no shame in saying that, like, but I can read, and when I read this says to me, like, that the judge should be impartial when he's sentencing me, and they're not, because, like, even the judge last month there, he was like, are you an addict? Are you an addict? Like, he was just straight up asking me, are you an addict? Like, he has this bias in the back of his mind as the cannabis consumers and who we are. Like, that's not impartial at all. It should be made up of the public, 12 members of the public or whatever the number is in Ireland, and they should be able to hear the cases. So this is another one. I don't believe we're getting a right to a fair trial. You have the Director for Public Prosecutions, okay? They're the guys who bring before the charges, along with the complainant, which is the guard. So the guard makes a complaint to the Director of Public Prosecutions, and then they bring the case forward with the help of the guard, who is the complainant. And you go onto their website then, right? And this is what you get on their website. Independent, fair, effective. But they're not. They are not independent at all. Like, well, I don't know, are they independent? It's the state. And the state, I don't know, but they're not, certainly not fair. They're definitely not fair at all. So you have the Gardaí working with these guys and the judge. That they're all the state. They're three bodies of the state. I don't see them as being operating separately. They're all the same. They're all the same, just different bloody branches of the same tree. So they're not really independent in my eyes anyway. I don't see them there. The fairness, it's not there because the judge won't hear your arguments as to why he shouldn't punish you at all. Or why his punishments maybe are too harsh, you know, and the DPP then also, you know, they'll bring you to the court for fucking €1 worth of cannabis. They will. Like, where's the fairness in that? That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And effectiveness, geez, don't even get me started on effective. Far from fucking effective. Because, like, it says back here as well that you have a right to a speedy trial in kind of a well-timed framework, whatever. But as I've been talking about, I was waiting well over a year for my court case. Guys, well over a year I had to just go around with that at the back of my mind. This court case, a year and a bit. That's not speedy. In the UK, it's about 2 or 3 months. They'll have you up in court. In Ireland, it's about a year and 2 or 3 months. It's some difference, and it's not fair at all, and it's not effective. And I don't believe they're independent either. So it's all false advertising. It's all bullshit. It's all a big scam that they suck money out of us, because that's all they ever wanted from me when they brought me to court for my crime of possessing drugs, possessing cannabis, was money. They always wanted fucking money. Let me go on. Article 8, guys. The right to respect for private and family life. Everyone has the right to respect for his private and family life, his home and his correspondence, okay? You don't have that currently here in Ireland. You really don't. How many people out there have had their mail intercepted recently when you're getting maybe cannabis goodies sent over, you know? The Misuse of Drugs Act is giving them a right to invade your right to privacy and family life. It's not right at all that they have a right to do this because of drug use. Again, you go back to it. Where is the justification for this? Can they justify it? I don't believe they can justify it. There is more evidence now in favour of more compassionate and decriminalising the drug user. Yeah, more compassionate policies where we decriminalise the drug user. Criminalising them is not right at all. There's no justification for it. And again, all this stuff in accordance with the law. So here, that's another one. Article 8, respect of privacy and family life. They don't respect that at all. And one reason why they don't do that is that they were able to just arbitrarily search me. I was reaching down to the floor of my car to get a bottle of water, and the cop had the right to invade my privacy. That's arbitrary, like just by this guard's vision. He was about 20 foot away from me, and I was facing the opposite way, so he was looking in through my back window. So all he could really see is the heads of the seat and me stretching over. Like, it's not suspicious, but him, he wanted to arbitrarily search my car and found a fucking joint. Like, whoop-de-doo, like, but come on, like, what's more important? Him finding a joint or our rights to privacy being respected? What's more important, guys? Just, if you don't agree with a person, like, want right to consume cannabis, but do you agree with having them right to privacy, like that the guards just can't arbitrarily stop and search somebody just because you're acting suspiciously? Because look what happens. People like myself get more more targeted, by and large. Like, when you look at it, you don't have fellas in suits getting brought up to court for having cannabis in their pockets, and that's not to say that fellas with suits don't have cannabis or other drugs, So Article 9, freedom of thought, conscience and religion. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or basic belief of freedom, either alone or in a community with others and in a public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in worship, teachings, practice and observance. Freedom to manifest one's religion or beliefs shall be subject only to such limitations as prescribed by the law. You see how they get the wording in there every time, like the prescribed by the law. So basically, the law has the right to take away your freedom of thought, conscience and religion at some point. So basically, if you're a Rastafarian and your belief is that cannabis enables you more effective communication with the higher power, your gods, or your God, your Jesus, whoever it is that you might be praying to. Our government, I believe, they have the right to take that away because of the Misuse of Drugs Act 1977, which bans cannabis. And also bans other ones too, actually, now that we're on this freedom of thought, conscience and religion, because there's other ones. You have entheogens. You have entheogenic compounds which people consume and have consumed for millennia, and they believe that it enables them to commune with an alternate, I don't know, dimensions, higher powers, with entities beyond the world that we exist in. I don't know what the wording is correctly there, but these peoples have thought, and they don't form a structure, a religion as such, except the Santa Daime religion, guys. And another plug to my interview with Danny Nemu, if you haven't checked that one out. But there's religions out there that use certain compounds, plants, to engage in states of mind that enable communications with entities, beings outside of yourself. Ego dissolution is something that happens there, where you kind of cease to exist yourself. So maybe you're just communing subconsciously with yourself. Look, I'm not even going into all that. This is violated many times by cannabis and mushrooms, DMT, ayahuasca, guys. I could go on. There's a good list of compound substances, very beneficial too, guys. Very beneficial, and they're all outlawed. We can't research them, we can't access them because of this, and it breaches our Article 9, freedom of thought, conscience and religion. Just keep that in mind, guys. We really need to be exercising our rights. Bob Marley said it, guys. Get up, stand up for your rights. Don't give up this fight, guys. Don't give up this fight. Like, come on, stand up, everybody. We need this. Like, we really do. The world has been fucking destroyed. I think there's a lot of benefit that these plants and entheogens can bring to the world. There's a certain reconnection that takes place for many people who've experienced these compounds, a reconnection with the planet, the world, and just life and all of that, you know. So incredibly beneficial stuff, and it's a violation of our rights to not have the right to access these things and to know about them even. And there's many people out there too, guys, whose the right to the freedom of expression is violated. This is the next one, and this is one I face over and over again, because so many people have reached out to me over the many months of doing this show, saying that, like, they love what I do, that they like my messaging, that they really support it, but they can't like my Facebook page. They can't like my post. They can't share something. They can't express themselves because of fear of being targeted. Many people, fear of losing their jobs. Guys, that's intimidation. That's fear. That's using fear as a tool to make people act in certain ways. And to do that, you're limiting their freedom of expression, which is another inalienable human right. They have no right to take it away from you except in accordance with law. And we cannot stand by and let the Misuse of Drugs Act 1977 and whatever amendments are made after that violate these rights. No, our human rights are way more important than the Misuse of Drugs Act. The Misuse of Drugs Act, there's no justification there for that, the Misuse of Drugs Act, to be able to violate so many of our human rights and cause so much pain and suffering in our society. Those many patients, those many parents that I've mentioned in the many shows I've done, all of these people, that they're all victims of this, and it needs to be removed. It's such a terrible piece of policy that they keep in place, and it's another one. Everyone has the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart information and ideas without interference by public authority and regardless of frontiers. The article shall not prevent states from requiring the licensing of broadcasting, television or cinema enterprises. The exercise of these freedoms, since it carries with it duties and responsibilities, may be subject to such formalities, conditions, restrictions or penalties as are prescribed by the law and are necessary in a democratic society in the interests of national security, territorial integrity or public safety, for the prevention of disorder or crime, for the protection of health or morals, for the protection of the reputation of rights of others, for prevention of the disclosures of information received in confidence, or for maintaining the authority and impartiality of the judiciary. Whew, that was a long one. So again, like, this is incredibly violated, and it's in here like as prescribed by the law. So they're allowed as prescribed by the law, but we can't allow them. It's only allowed as long as we allow them. We have to stand up, get up, stand up for your rights. The gay rights movement did it, guys. The freedom of marriage, that was one that they focused in on, the freedom to marry, and they got it. We need to focus on these now. These are human rights. This is a big one. We need to step up now and really take it to the plate. Gino Kenny's bill going forward, it's something that I will be supporting, and I hope everybody out there supports it too. And this is one way I envision supporting it, is that the prohibition of cannabis, the prohibition of drugs, it's violating many human rights. And it shouldn't be, so there's no justification for it. Brought up the example, Portugal, they're doing quite well. They decriminalised all drug users. They're doing well. Article 11. Freedom of assembly and association. Everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and to freedom of association with others, including the right to form and join trade unions for the protection of his interests. That's been violated. We didn't have the right to freedom of assembly. Back in August, we organised a protest. It was a protest. Yes, it was people in a field sitting around playing music and smoking cannabis. But guys, that was a protest. It was a friendly, peaceful protest. It was just to bring together the community to help break the stigma. And we weren't allowed that right. The guards on the day said that we were in violation of the COVID rules, but we were not. Actually, when we done a head count, we were nowhere near the 200 mark at all. So that was the number that was set in place by the government as the guideline. We weren't violating that at all. So we had that violated. We've had groups targeted. My own page has been watched. So I've been harassed by Gardaí. So I'm not having a freedom of assembly. That there's people out there feel that by interacting with me that they'll be targeted. So that's not freedom of their assembly either, and association. No, that is not. So that's another violation. So again, another violation. Everyone has the right to freedom of a peaceful assembly, which we were, and to freedom of association with others, including the right to form and to join trade unions for the production of his interests. So, for detection of his interests. So, these are inalienable human rights. They only can take them away if you're in accordance with the law. And as I say, the Misuse of Drugs Act, there's no justification there for it. It was put in place at a time when condoms were fucking illegal, guys. Come on, it's so outdated, like. It really, really is. So this is another one we could be challenging it with. Article 13. Right to an effective remedy. And this is important, guys, because for anybody out there listening who believes with me and in my opinion that all of those rights I mentioned earlier have been violated, then you're in luck, because Article 13 is for you. Everyone whose rights and freedoms as set forth in this convention are violated shall have an effective remedy before a national authority, notwithstanding that the violation has been committed by persons acting in an official capacity. So what this is basically saying is, if you feel your rights, your human rights, any of these aforementioned have been violated, you have a right to have it heard, and an effective remedy should be set forth. So I'm going to exercise this one myself. I've challenged recently the decision to fine me and to give me another criminal conviction. But I'm going to lodge an official complaint very soon on this. I'm seeking legal advice on the matter, and I definitely want to bring them to the task on this. I would like to bring the government to court for violating my human rights. I would like to bring the Director for Public Prosecutions to court for violating my human rights. And I would like to bring the number of Gardaí who arbitrarily stopped and searched me over the years to the court for violating my human rights. They've no right to do it. So it'd be very interesting to see the outcome of that. I wouldn't hold my breath that it would be a fruitful one, because I think the whole thing is a bloody scam. But we'll see what happens. I'll always remain a bit optimistic. Just won't hold my breath, because it's a long road, I'd imagine. But maybe 2021 is going to bring a lot of victories there for us, which hopefully will speed things up a little bit. Article 14, prohibition of discrimination. So I talk a lot about prohibitions and about how prohibitions are bad. This is one prohibition that I don't disagree with, the prohibition of discrimination. And this is a prohibition that I believe the cannabis prohibition violates all the fucking time, because guards can just, like, if you're wearing a weed t-shirt going down the street, or if your hair is any bit long and you're a guy or something, you know, or if you're a skater, or, you know, there's numerous backgrounds there where you get discriminated against, you get picked out. Why is it that males get stopped and searched more often than females? Why is it that males from disadvantaged backgrounds get stopped and searched more often than males from well-off-to-do backgrounds, you know? You know, there's grounds for discrimination there, and it's prohibited. It's not allowed, and the Misuse of Drugs Act allows it, and it shouldn't. It's a worse prohibition. The prohibition of cannabis causes so much suffering. The prohibition of discrimination is a good one. It stops the discrimination of people. It's one I support. It's one the prohibitionists should support too. It's the only one they should support. and the other prohibitions, I suppose, whatever, that where there's victims there. But the prohibition of drugs, it's not one that I can support at all. So the prohibition of discrimination, the enjoyment of the rights and freedoms set forth in this convention shall be secured without discrimination on any ground such as sex, race, colour, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, associated with a national minority, property or other status. I believe cannabis consumers at this stage, there's so many of us, like, are a minority group. There's a lot of us, guys. There's so many of us now. We really are a minority group who gets discriminated against every bloody day that this prohibition of cannabis remains in place, and that we're labelled criminals in our society. How many people out there have good jobs and consume cannabis, and they have to hide it? They have to hide it because they lose their job. That's discrimination. That can't happen. That shouldn't be allowed to happen. Like, what you do in the privacy, guys, it's another one that it's a human right. What happens in the privacy of your home shouldn't be used against you at all in your job, especially when it doesn't impact upon your ability to do that job. You know, like, if you're not going to work stoned, if you're not going to work like drunk, what's the problem? You know, like, imagine, like, if they were breath testing you when you went into work in the morning. Or they were able to test, actually, sorry, if you were drinking on a Sunday night. Do you know, imagine that, if you went into work and your boss was like, you were drinking last night, you should have been in bed at 8 o'clock. You should have got a good night's sleep before being in here at 9 o'clock. We're going to fire you because of that. That's bang out of order, isn't it? Well, why isn't it any more in order when he says it about you having a joint on a Sunday night, or a Saturday night, or a Friday night, or a Thursday night, or a Wednesday night? You know, if you're working on a Monday morning, because, like, that's how long it can stay in your system. It can stay in your system a lot longer than alcohol can. As I say, the common test for alcohol is a breath test. The same for the cannabis test is then a blood test. Like, you know, it's much more in depth. And then when you look at it, the way in which the drugs are metabolized are completely different. So cannabis stays around for longer. But you all probably know that out there already. Guys, this is discrimination. These are human rights. Get up, stand up for your human rights. That's my call for action for the New Year's, guys. I want to see an army of people out there. Like, guys, we can't live in fear any longer. It's the fear that allows this Misuse of Drugs Act to stay in place. You know, so many people out there who are fearful of losing their, like, it's very valid fear, guys. Losing your job, being targeted, having your home raided. You know, people thinking, oh, he's a cannabis consumer, he must be a dope. He must be an idiot. You know, there's these certain connotations that go with it, and we need to overcome these things. We can't allow these things to be applied to ourselves, because it's discrimination, and that's wrong. There's a prohibition of it. Another prohibition is a prohibition of our rights, and this is the final one on this. Is Article 17. Nothing in this convention may be interpreted or as implying for any state, group or person any rights to engage in any activity or perform any act aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth herein, or at their limitation to a greater extent than is provided for in this convention. That is a bit of a mouthful, and I have to be very honest, I don't fully understand what this is saying. But what I understand from the heading is prohibition of abuse of rights, that they can't abuse our rights, so that they can't abuse our rights. What I believe the prohibition of cannabis, the Misuse of Drugs Act of 1977, abuses our rights because guards can just arbitrarily stop and search you going down the road based upon their suspicion of you. That's wrong. Now, if a house was robbed and you fit the description of the person who robbed the house, or if you're in the vicinity of the area within an allocated time, let's say, of a house being robbed, and the guard then believed he wanted to search you, just to rule you out, I would have no problem with that kind of a stop and search. But just like this guard, my own experience, I was getting a water bottle from the floor of the car, and that was suspicious enough for him to want to search my car. I was not reaching, hiding, getting anything illegal. I didn't even know what a joint was fecking in the car. I forgot it was bloody there for the last few days when that happened there, April 2019. So like that can't happen. This is abuse of our rights. It's discrimination, and all of the above. I've mentioned many ways there in which our human rights have been violated, and yeah, there's lots of them. So guys, thanks very much to everybody who's after tuning in and supporting the show over the last couple of months. There's been many of you. I've gotten many messages from yourselves, and guys, I appreciate everyone, every person who's interacted with the show, and I hope you keep interacting. I hope you keep following. I hope you keep keep sharing the videos, subscribing, and all of that. But I can't thank you enough. It's been an absolute pleasure to deliver the show to you, and to get this message out there. I have a couple of comments there from people that I wanted to share, but I didn't get them onto the OBS platform in time actually to share them with you. So I'm just going to get one or two of them in there now. So this was a comment from a listener to the show, and this was over on YouTube. This comment was made. So just one more second there now, and I'll have that up. Just get my camera into it. Editing the show as we go, guys. Beauty of doing a fucking live show and all of that crack. But look, it is what it is. I'm not a professional at this yet. Not yet. I'm getting there. Getting better as we go through it. But this comment comes in there from YouTube, as I was saying, and it says that when the doctor told me I had a health problem, they prescribed me medication the last 5 years, 2 different Prozac, got told to take it every day so I can go through my day okay. So I've been smoking straight now, pure cannabis for 2 years, and it has had a great impact on me and my life. My relationship is better with my partner, I believe that is. And I'm booking a course so I can get a job. If I stayed on the medication the doctors gave me, my life wouldn't be changing for the good. It's hard to pay for cannabis. I spend nearly 200 quid a week. It's ridiculous. The Irish government need to legalise it and save this country. So like I got many stories like that and many comments like that coming in from people over the course of doing this show. So some messages were harder to deal with than others because people were sharing like incredible stories with me of incredible hardship that they went through, people having their kids taken off them, and having to give up cannabis then just to get their kids back, despite the fact that they were doing well for their kids. It was just that the authorities got wind of the fact that that they were using cannabis, I suppose. It's absolutely ridiculous. This was another comment that came in. This was a message actually that was sent to the page, and I said, keep up the good work, man. 100%. Then it says, really enjoy your podcast and the points you raise, and that we should band together to improve Ireland. I'm from West Cork, Dunmanway myself, and it's terrible. The rats here, it's a joke, and the people scamming people. I suffer from insomnia and a few other injuries from sports, and that's why I use weed. The first smoke was AK-47, and actually growing my own this year was great to pass a bit of to friends beside others that are robbing you for a gram on the price. Big fan, keep it up. Like I love all these messages, guys, and when you get them into me, I hope you don't mind me sharing it. I probably should have maybe scratched out the West Cork man my part there, but it's a big part of town down there, and I'm sure there's lots of people down there who smoke cannabis as well. Um, but it's incredible the pain and suffering that people are going through out there, and the struggle that they face in order just to access cannabis medicines. I had one comment come in on one of my posts, and I had difficulty finding it there earlier. I spent a bit of time trying to find it, but it was a woman who commented, and I believe it was the video where I went into the Garda station and I was giving the seats to the guards. That's where I was looking for it. I couldn't really find it there. Maybe she deleted it or what have you. But basically, she said I had changed her way of thinking. She used to believe that criminalizing people for this was right. But she kind of listened to my arguments to the guard at the Garda station that day, and I changed her mind. And that to me was probably one of the most valuable messages or comments I received on anything I've done over the last while. But because like if I was to change one person's mind, that's a lot to me. I hope I can change many more. But the fact that I've changed one, that's time well spent, and I'll keep doing it until I can change a second. You know, there's other comments then that came in there from people. One second, now, and I just get this one up. And did it boom? Yeah, this is a common one I get all the time, actually. Well, by any chance you can help get sorted with a bit of stuff around Kinsale or Cork City? Sound, thanks. Lads, I'm not a dealer, like I'm not banging weed out. If I could get a euro for every message like this I got, I would have a lot of euros. I'm not dealing, like, so please kindly refrain from requesting it. I don't mind if you get in touch and say, like, you're new to the area and do I know where I can get a bit, or whatever. But some people be straight up thinking I'm just doing this to bang out, or something. I've mentioned the fact that there's many vendors over on Instagram. Like, it's not going to take a lot of work to go over there and to find a vendor or a plug for yourself. But sadly, I'm not one. I'm an activist. I'm a campaigner. And I'm not a dealer. Sorry. I'd another comment come in there from Tom, and Tom messaged the page, and I'm just gonna pop up his message here real quick. It's a very long message, actually, so bear with me. I'm not gonna pop it up on screen. I'm just gonna read it out if it loads here in the background for me. Just give me a second. Just search for Tom. One second now, guys. Bear with me. Just fishing through these messages. I'll get to your comments as well in a couple of seconds, guys. This will be the last comment and message that I'm just going to jump through for you. I believe I'm coming close to it. Here we go. This is the message. Just going to open it up here now. Yeah, this was the one. It says, "Well, Martin, hope you're doing well, bud. My package was seized by customs. Feckin' heartbroken. They just robbed me of what money's worth of product I could afford, and now I can't order it again because my post will be monitored. I must say, I have to thank you for adjusting my mindset towards my cannabis use, because if I had this package seized before seeing your content, I would be in the mindset that, well, I was playing the game and got caught. But since you've helped me understand better, not that I didn't understand before, but I just thought, well, this is the way it is, that I am being criminalized by these archaic policies now, and I just feel like they robbed me of my personal property. They blatantly just took something that belongs to me from me, and now I can't afford to replace it. Heartbroken. Lockdown just got a lot more depressing. I just wanted to let you know another report of a cannabis user being bullied. Thanks, Martin, for all you do. I'd love to support more, however, my financial situation is taking a hit due to the current state of the world. Keep fighting the good fight, man, and I'll be supporting in what means I can. And he signs off there, Tom. And thanks very much for that message, Tom. That was sent a month or so ago there to the show. And in that, like, you hear a man, like, his financial situation is taking a bit of a hit because the current situation is probably on the public unemployment payment scheme, or possibly on the dole, who knows. But he had his package taken from him. And what I like here is the fact that, like, in my videos, that the content I'm getting out there, I'm changing the way people are viewing this. They no longer see, just accept it, that this is the way of being. That the guards take your cannabis and that's just okay. They're now seeing it as being a violation of them, that their property, it's their own private property, that the guards have no right to take it away, that you have more right to possess it than the guards have a right to take it away. The Misuse of Drugs Act is in violation of many of our human rights, as I've said, and we need to stand up for those, and we need to challenge this, because it's ridiculous. We can't let it stay in place. And I'm glad another mindset changed. So there wasn't just one mind I've changed, just two. So like, this is treasure to me, guys. This is worth its weight in gold, really. Like, so keep these kind of messages coming. If there's other people out there who, if I've changed your way of thinking or all over time, dude, like, pop me a message, let me know. Share the videos too, get it out there to other people, because I'm preaching to the choir here, I feel, a lot of the times. But if you can share it, if you can get that message out there further to your own networks, you know, it will reach ears that need to hear this message. You know, people who aren't partial to this kind of way of thinking. So that's that, guys. That is all I would like to share for you today. And thanks again to everybody for tuning in and joining the show. It is Christmas. I got the Christmas jumper on. Going to get festive, going to blaze up a bowl before we read out your comments, guys. And I might have a sip of water as well to deal with the old cotton mouth. So Merry Christmas, guys, and happy 420 to everybody out there. Tasty. Ooh. So to the comments we go, guys. Dave, you found your place back at the top spot, man. It's been a while since I seen you at the top comment spot. You would have been contested there for a while, but it's good to see you back there, bud. Merry Christmas to you too as well, pal. And we got a shamrock there from David. Nice one for stopping in, David, man. Hope you enjoyed the show. Christy adding in, happy Christmas, Martin. Keep her lit, man. And you too, Christy. Happy Christmas to you and yours, pal. I hope you have a good one. Hope those Gardaí don't interfere with you at all. Excuse me. Jack adds in here then that the 420 Bong Angelas is hilarious. He says, I didn't actually even think of that. You just coined a new phrase now for me. The 420 Bong Angelas. At the beginning, 420 Bongulus. Excellent, man. Love it. Love it. Miranda adds in there as well. Merry Christmas from Wales. Glad to see the shows getting out there and leaving the island of Ireland. Merry Christmas to all you over there in Wales as well, guys. Thanks for tuning in, Miranda. Hope you have a lovely one. And no doubt you'll probably see a good bit of snow over there in the mountains as well. I'd love to be able to go over there now and visit, actually. Like, Wales is a beautiful part of the world as well. So yeah, and some lovely people over there as well. Really cool language as well. Like, I love your road signs over there. I'm the crack trying to read them. Ronan says here, Renan, paracetamol is just as bad with a nagging. Yep, there you go, man. Paracetamol and a nagging, and you can buy them from the same place at the same time. Human empathy and intelligence, is there much of it left in the world? sadly, I would think that there isn't a whole lot when you look at the policies and the suffering that's allowed continue because of the policies. You think that human empathy would kick in a little bit there for policymakers, but no, sadly. So yeah, you wouldn't be you wouldn't be mistaken for believing that there isn't much in the world. But there is a lot of good out there. I do have a lot of faith in humans, and I just believe that the guys at the top, the small few, they're corrupt and they're evil, and that there's an imbalance there. And I believe the world will rebalance itself. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but we can speed it up, guys. If we do what Bob Marley says, get up, stand up for your rights, get out there and fight, but peacefully, peacefully. Um, we have Sean says here like the Liverpool care pathway is targeted at elderly for end of life care or even basic treatment. Monsters in charge of our most sensitive systems. Absolutely barbaric, man, that they would consider end of life over just continuing basic care of a person. Like cannabis medicines above all else, it's so simple. It's a plant. Horrible that they're depriving it. Sean adds in that laugh out loud. He says, "Yeah, cannabis." Sorry, I hate when these things pop up. He adds in here, "Cannabis won't solve 100% of your problems, but it probably will solve near 99% of them." And certainly, if having no cannabis is one of your problems, having cannabis will almost certainly guaranteed to solve that problem. And Percy's Greenbird pops in there. Happy Christmas, Percy. Hope all is well. Send my greetings there as well to all over at the High End Homegrown podcast. Always a pleasure to have you pop by to the 420 News. Sean adds in here. He puts up a link here into the Universal Declaration of Human Rights coming from the UN. And I was looking at that and I was using that initially to form today's show, but it seems that the European Convention on Human Rights is a more relevant one to the law and to Irish society. So that's why I went with the European Convention on Human Rights. But the UN, there's not a whole lot of difference there, just a bit on the wording. It seems like they got a lot more wording as to how the law has a right to take away your rights. Excuse me, in the European one. Sean adds in, no jury, no trial, stage show when it's just you and a judge. I agree with you, man. I really do agree with you. It really feels that way. A kangaroo court, you just go in there and you have to be, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, I'm sorry sir, I'll never do it again sir, please give me a slap on the wrist sir. You know, what a load of bullshit. Like that's why I get punished so much, really. Like, it's just my unwillingness to do that. Like, you know, if I had never been caught with cannabis and at the side of the road, I would get that out of caution thing, I'd be still contesting that. I'd be like, I don't want that out of caution. You shouldn't be cautioning me. This is ridiculous, you know? And I probably wouldn't get it then, you know? But who knows? But anyway, Keith Griffin adds in, he says, you're right, Martin, and I can't remember what you're referring to because that was left 33 minutes ago, but nice one for the comment nonetheless. Merry Christmas there coming in from Francis as well, and Merry Christmas to you as well, Francis, and to all your family out there as well. Hope you have a very good one. Jack adds in, love what you're doing, Martin. Been watching for a few months now. Keep it up. I'm glad someone is taking a stand anyway. Much love from Blackpool, England, and Merry Christmas also. Great to hear that the show is really getting out there to many parts of the world. Although England's not too far away, but I've seen it get as far as Adelaide, Australia, and places. So it's really good to see these comments, guys. And thanks very much, and Merry Christmas to everybody over in Blackpool, England, and to Jack there as well, and to all your family and friends as well, Jack. Hope you have a good one, guys, and the authorities don't interfere with it. May it be green and merry. um, Sean is saying hi to Garda and Interpol out there, and hello, Merry Christmas as well to all the guards out there who are tasked with watching Martin's World and to see what this crazy cannabis consumer is up to today. Merry Christmas, guys. I hope you enjoy the show. The government are the biggest criminals then coming in from Christian Jah, and I agree with you. I think they are. That they're a bunch of criminals up there. Like it's crazy what they're doing and the suffering they allow continue. Just to highlight another cause that I do support, it's the Debenhams workers. They're being abandoned by our government. Like the government aren't doing enough there to step in and help these workers and to secure their rights. They're allowing Debenhams to just walk all over them. It's ridiculous. They're striking now for over 200 days. Absolutely ridiculous. They're out there right now striking to make sure that the Debenhams trucks, the KPMG trucks, can't get in to remove the stock there, because they believe that stock should be used to pay the staff the redundancy that they're owed. But yeah, the government aren't doing enough. So that's just another campaign out there. There's many out there that I do support, and I am certainly aware of them. But I'm going to focus very much on cannabis and drug policy for the show. Be reminded, guys, I will run for government if an election is called. Do I think I'll get elected? No. But will I have my issues heard? Yes. And that's all that matters to me. I don't care if I get elected. I just want the issues to be heard, and I want them to be debated as well. And like, do I think I'll change the mind of the person who might oppose my opinions? No. But I might plant the seed, and going down the road, that might help change things. So I do believe in taking part, and I will run for government again. So there are many causes out there that I am aware of, and the Debenhams workers is just one of them. And the government are the biggest criminals of all. They're fucking, man, so wrong. Stephen Donnelly, Simon Harris, like Jesus, like the lads, and they kept cannabis and patience all this long. Christy adds in here, love this, Martin. This is brilliant information to have. Thanks, and I'm glad that I was able to get it out there, guys. I hope people found it beneficial. I hope it wasn't too boring or waffly at all. But it's just my opinion as to how I believe these human rights are being violated by the Misuse of Drugs Act 1977. So if anybody is out there, guys, I'd love to see the patients of like Vera, Kenny, Vera, the mother of Ava. Do you know, Ava is the patient, Vera is the mother, the campaigner. Like Kenny is the patient, Kenny Kynan. He's the host of the Cannabis Patient podcast. Pamela, Ryan Fowler, you know, guys, I would love to see take the government to task as to how you're being discriminated against by the Misuse of Drugs Act, because of the way in which you're being treated. Like it's unfair, it's inhumane, the way in which you're being treated and discriminated against, the stigma that you have to face from the medical profession. It's ridiculous. I would love to see you to bring them to court, but obviously, you know, I understand you want to just focus on your conditions and just get the medication, just get on with life, and that's right, that's what you should want to do. But as long as these laws are in place, I would love to see them challenged. I'm challenging them. I'm challenging them as a person who believes, like, I don't have any serious medical condition, but I do believe that cannabis has enabled me a better quality of life. I believe it enables me a better freedom of expressing myself, a better way of expressing myself. So I will challenge it, but I would love to see other people do it too. Other comments coming in there then. Paul, 2 or 3 busloads of people want some weed. Sean adds in then, keep it up, Martin. Your words are deaf, changing minds, and planting info seeds. Great to hear. Nice one for that, Sean. I'll keep doing my part anyway. And we will see lots of protests as well in 2021 from Martin's World and the cannabis activists of Ireland. Another Sean Duggan adds in here, Merry Christmas, Martin and family. And thanks very much, Sean, there for that. And I hope you enjoyed the show today. Sean adds in there as well that the UN one is voluntary. Okay, I didn't realise. Yeah, I thought that the European one might have superseded it or something, but it's a voluntary one. And again, it is certainly worthy of being used there, because like our rights are tools that are being given to us, that we need to kind of step up and exercise, you know. But you're not just going to be giving them as such, you know. If the government think they can take them away, which they believe that they can with the Misuse of Drugs Act, you know, we allow them to do it, but we can unallow them. We can stand up and change that. We live in a democracy. So remember that, guys. And last comment coming in there from Alan Hannigan, and he says, happy Xmas, Martin, and hope the Green Revolution takes off. Well, the Green Revolution is certainly taking off anyway, that's for sure. And I just hope the thing just keeps picking up momentum now as we roll on into 2021. You know, I believe there's a lot in store for next year. I've a lot of hope that Gina Kenny's bill it's gonna stir up a lot of conversation around this issue. And I hope many people out there, guys, I'm not the only one who's gotten criminalized for cannabis possession. I hope I hope that I'm giving you the courage that they come out and stand up for your rights, and to speak out on the wrong that was done to you, because it was wrong. It was wrong what was done to you. You don't deserve to be criminalized. Like the fact, if I want to go to America now, I've my freedom of travel is infringed upon because I have to apply to the American embassy, and I have to jump through crazy bloody hoops now, just to travel over there. My ability to get a job, it's infringed upon because having a criminal conviction, it impacts upon your ability to get a job. They say there's no justification for this. Like, my cannabis use, it's harmed nobody. It's harmed nobody. There's no justification for it. And I want to see justification if they want to keep it in place. That's what I'm challenging them on. Show me the justification for criminalizing cannabis users, cannabis consumers, cannabis growers, you know, all of the above. And yeah, Sean adds in, we need to prove that it's not misuse of drugs, you know. It's not misuse of drugs. When I smoked cannabis there a while ago, that was not misusing it at all. Was it the most effective way of consuming it? No. Is it incredibly healthy for you smoking? No, I'm not saying that at all. But is cannabis beneficial for you? Yes, and it's beneficial for me, and I don't believe I'm misusing it. So I think that's on them to prove it. So guys, until the New Year's, something I want to address actually, before I close out the show, is Facebook. Facebook have been censoring a lot of stuff there lately. So I'm considering moving the live show of the 420 News to YouTube. So do get in touch with me. Let me know what you think about that, guys. And I don't have a lot of trust in Facebook currently. That they've removed posts from going back from two and 3 years ago. It's absolutely ridiculous. Up to 5 years ago for some people. So I just don't really trust the platform any longer to be using it as my main platform for going live from. Because my message could see my page be taken down any day. I just don't know. Like, the days are numbered really on Facebook for the cannabis community. It seems like I'm not the only one with this worry as well. Ginger Bear is another person who's incredibly active on Facebook. Mark Emery is another person who's incredibly active on social media. He's been targeted as well, where he's had a lot of posts taken down from Facebook. A lot of groups I'm active in have had posts taken down from Facebook as well. So I'm definitely concerned and considering making that move over there to YouTube for the 420 News. So I might get set up for doing that in the New Year's. So I'll announce it. I'll let you know. I won't let you hanging, and I will upload the YouTube video then afterwards to Facebook. I'll keep linking videos to you here. I'll still interact with you as well. I'll still do live sessions that kind of interact with whatever audience might be over here. That can't make the move over to the live part of YouTube. But I am just concerned, and I'm just going to show you why. I've Mark Emery's page opened up here, and just going to click into this post specifically. Um, load up. Ah, there we go. So Mark Emery says here that I've had over 100 posts about cannabis forcibly removed from Facebook in the recent 60 days. I've been banned for all of but 7 days of the last 3 months on Facebook and Messenger. Instagram is promising to emulate this Facebook censorship. So there's also the same concern there that Instagram now soon, like simple pictures of just buds, like if you just put up a picture of a cannabis plant now, they're flagging it, and they're taking them down as being seen to be promoting the sale and supply of drugs, illegal drugs, which is messed up. That there's a bit of a campaign kind of kicking off there. People's Cannabis Canada, is it? Yeah. Stop Facebook from silencing cannabis in Canada. You've other things here, like a petition then that they have up there as well. So they're start like this isn't a new thing. This has been going on for quite a while. I talked about the shadow ban that exists around cannabis, when you search it. So watch what happens, and watch now that they'll allow the search to go on. But I hit cannabis in here into the search bar. So hit cannabis into the search bar, and I get cannabis clubs. I get all of these things coming back and pages, which is good. It's good that this is coming up. But watch what happens when you hit posts. We didn't find any results. Nothing. No posts for cannabis. No posts. Are you really? What? Photos? I wonder if they show me photos. Nothing for photos. Videos? Cannabis. Okay, they didn't black it in videos. But for posts, nothing. And for, is it people? You get people with cannabis. Let me just say pages. You get pages too. Okay, you used to get blanked out in pages because you used to be able to find, say, the Cork Cannabis Club before when you searched it up here in the search bar. You used to be able to find it at all. They used to have it blacked out. Just like this. This is what you used to be met. We didn't find any results. But like, there's loads of posts out there that have cannabis written on them. I write several a fucking day. Like, you know, it's crazy. There's so many posts out there that refer to cannabis and they've it blacked out. There's a shadow ban on it, and that's violating your freedom of expression. At least I do believe it does anyway. So this is just something to be concerned about, and it's something I am considering. I don't know who's still out there. No, I haven't seen any comments come in, so I don't see anybody complaining about me considering this move from Facebook to YouTube. But something I am considering, guys, just because of that kind of carry on there, with this kind of censorship. We didn't find any results. So that's it. That's kind of all I had to say there on the matter. You've been listening to 420 News. This is brought to you by Martin's World. I'm the host, Martin Condon. Stay blazed out there, guys. Keep her lit. Keep it festive. Have a good one. Merry, green, jolly, Hally Christmas. And yeah, and a Happy New Year as well, guys. Peace.